changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look back ever again.
Hello and welcome back to Stitch and Witch. I'm your host Hikari Rose, and today we are going to be talking about armor crafting. Now, if you've been following along at home, you should have a fully sewn up costume, and for some characters, that's all you need. But for some characters, this is just the beginning. Like with sewing, there are a lot of different ways to go about this, but we will stick to the easier and less expensive options. For materials, a good beginner-friendly option is craft foam or EVA foam. This is sold in both sheets and large rolls, and a variety of thicknesses, colors, even translucent, which can be used to diffuse the light for awesome effect. Another variation is an EVA foam clay that is air drying and easy to mold. EVA foam is also easy to carve with an X-Acto knife and can be formed using a heat gun. Basically, you can use a heat gun to heat up foam and then bend, shape, and curve pieces to better fit around your body. And to attach pieces together, I'd recommend contact cement. You can get this at the hardware store. How it works is that you put it on both sides of whatever you're gluing, wait 5 minutes for it to get tacky, and then stick them together. It forms a strong connection on contact, hence the name, so be sure to place everything down right. With an overview of what you'll need and how to use everything done, let me walk you through kind of a general overflow of how armor making works. Like with sewing, you'll need a pattern. To make one that'll fit you perfectly, you'll need plastic wrap, duct tape, and an accomplice. First, you'll wrap yourself with plastic wrap and then apply duct tape on top. Try to keep it smooth and to one layer as best you can. Then, either you, if you can reach it, or you, if you can't, can draw on the duct tape directly with a Sharpie. And if you need to remove anything that's super wrong, you can use rubbing alcohol to remove it. Once the pattern is the way you want it, label all the pieces and then cut them out carefully. Once you have those, lay them out on your foam and then cut them out of whatever thickness you want. Also cut out any detail pieces you want, or maybe to make an indent, you would cut a border to raise the outer edge of something. When you have everything cut out, it's time to glue it together. To make lining everything easier, you might want to make something called registration marks on the piece. Registration marks are lines on both of the pieces that you want to match up as you go, so you can make sure you aren't warping or pulling anything out of place. Once everything is glued, it's time for painting. What I'd recommend using is something called Plastidip. It's a spray that puts a rubberized coat on the material, which can give you a smoother surface, it takes paint really well, and it can help protect your armor from wear and tear. A tip for smoother application is to put the spray can in a warm water bath for about 10 minutes. A tip for smoother application is to put the spray can in a warm water bath for about 10 minutes before you start using it. Once the primer's gone on, it's paint time. Now you can use spray paint, brush-on paint, or even an airbrush, whatever works best for you and your price range. One note about the airbrush, remember back when I mentioned translucent foam? Well, the airbrush can apply paint thin enough that it looks opaque, but light can still shine through. For an amazing example, Kamui Cosplay made an amazing Monster Hunter cosplay where you can see this idea in action. Now, the best paint jobs have more detail applied by doing things like dry brushing, where you lightly go over the highest points with barely any paint on the brush, or washes, where you heavily dilute paint to put it into the lows and wipe off the areas you don't want it. Another step you might want to take is weathering the armor. This is where you purposely scuff, dirty, pop mark, chip paint, or rust the armor to match what the character's armor looks like in game, or to match the look you're going for. I'll link a few videos below with people who go way more in depth about this with various techniques if you're curious about it. Just remember to apply a sealant on top to protect your paint job once you're done. Once you have all the armor done, you'll need to attach it to your costume. And no, hot gluing it to yourself is not an option. Now, there are a variety of ways to go about it, but the main deciding factor is the weight of the armor. as heavier pieces need more support to be worn comfortably for a long period of time. For lighter pieces like smaller shoulder pauldrons, shin guards, and the like, sew-on snaps or Velcro might be enough. If the pieces are heavier or it's in an area that moves and flexes more, then clips or buckles might be the way to go. Although I will say that even on the light things, if you can, a clip might be a good idea so that if something pushes against it or catches it, it'll make sure you don't lose anything. So with all of that, that should give you a pretty good starting point for making armor. Next time, we will go over finishing touches to add to round everything out. So keep on stitching, and I'll see you next time.
And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Don't be scared.